Everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with here today with an article from the Daily Signal. It says, new hate map counters SPLC narrative that violence is exclusively a domain of the far right. If you know anything about the Southern Poverty Law Center, or the SPLC, you'll know that they're a far left organization. They just like to blame everything on this far right that doesn't actually exist. And what they call far right is basically just regular conservatives or regular conservative groups. So glad to see that at least, what piqued my interest here is that I'm glad to see that at least there's some group coming around and going, no, that ain't true, guys. And it's something that we knew the whole time. I mean, when was the last time you heard of like a campaign of right-wing violence going on? I'll give you a second to try to think of that. Okay, so let's go into this. It says, a new nonprofit organization has released a map revealing leftist groups spewing hate and inspiring violence, countering the narrative that all animus and political violence comes from the right. The map aims to balance the notorious far-left bias of the Southern Poverty Law Center, which gained its reputation by suing Ku Klux Klan groups into I can talk. They sued them into bankruptcy and creating a map to monitor Klan groups and others it claimed were fellow travelers. So it started off with very good intentions, obviously. You want to get rid of these guys, because when was the last time you heard anything about this particular group? The answer is you haven't. So let's keep going. It says the SPLC's hate map has since grown to include many mainstream conservative and Christian nonprofits that have nothing to do with hate, much less white supremacy. Yet the SPLC continues to claim the map shows the infrastructure upholding white supremacy. So you know they're full of crap when they say something like that. It says the New Tolerance Campaign, a nonprofit dedicated to applying equal standards of tolerance to balance the left's cancel culture, launched its own hate map to counter that narrative. So I can forgive the general public for thinking that hate and violence are exclusively the domain of the far right. That's the message they've been receiving for years from much of the mass media and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Gregory Angelo, president of the New Tolerance Campaign, told the Daily Signal, the NTC hate map is designed to counter that narrative by showing the volume of hate promoted and perpetuated on the American left. If we're truly going to address all hate in the United States, we need to be honest about it. Correct. You can't just have one organization that goes, no, because we're on this part of the political spectrum. It's all the other people doing it. So it says the NTC hate map includes 184 organizations as of Friday, and that was August 2nd when this article was from. So all of the organizations and individuals listed have promoted, inspired, or directly engaged in physical violence against those with whom they disagree. The campaign's website states, this list was compiled through an extensive review of extremist group publications and materials and reports by the public, law enforcement, field sources, and the news media. So it says, Angelo said he intends to build up the list, but the New Tolerance Campaign also maintains far more stringent rules than the SPLC. As the SPLC's 2023 hate map includes 1,430 organizations branded hate groups or anti-government groups. There's nothing wrong with being anti-government. As the SPLC has faced criticism for enjoying a sticky definition of hate. Yes, because they're just leftists. And they probably don't know what it is. But it says the SPLC defines a hate group as an organization or collection of individuals that, based on its official statements or principles, the statements of its leaders or its activities, has beliefs or practices that attack or malign an entire class of people, typically for their immutable characteristics. An organization does not need to have engaged in criminal conduct or have followed their speech with actual unlawful action to be labeled a hate group. Well, that would help, but it says we do not list individuals as hate groups, only organizations. And the author says, as I wrote in my book, Making Hate Pay, the corruption of the Southern Poverty Law Center. I might actually have to check that out. As the SPLC applies this definition overly broadly against conservatives and far too narrowly for any group on the left. Among other things, the SPLC has cited as hate a Roman Catholic leader's decision to cite the Catechism of the Catholic Church. This suggests the SPLC should brand the entire Catholic Church a hate group if it were to be consistent. As the SPLC branded an openly gay group, and that's Gays Against Groomers, I remember reading about this, an anti-LGBTQ hate group earlier this year because the gay group opposes the sexualization of children, which is the right side to take, because again, it goes against what the SPLC thinks. And now, imagine if they're saying they're against this group, saying that they're against the sexualization of children, that means the SPLC is for the sexualization of children. So just let that sink in for a second. And say if you want to support those folks. Because although the SPLC does include the anti-Semitic Nation of Islam on its hate map, the rioters with Antifa and Black Lives Matter or pro-abortion agitators with Jane's Revenge don't make an appearance. Students for Justice in Palestine, a notorious anti-Israel group that often engages in harassment of Jewish students on college campuses, is also conspicuously absent from the SPLC map. And I think they have that group has specifically ties to like actual terrorist groups. So there's that. You'd think that a group like that would actually, show up on a hate map, but whatever. It says the NTC hate map may include less than a fifth of the number of groups as the SPLC's map, but it manages to correct SPLC's most egregious oversights. The map includes Black Lives Matter and Jane's Revenge, along with 12 chapters of Students for Justice in Palestine and 12 Antifa groups, including Portland's infamous Rose City Antifa. Students for Justice in Palestine also has over 250 chapters, so NTC chose which chapters to include by examining evidence of direct anti-Semitic attacks and violence. The campaign's map also includes Jewish Voice for Peace, one of the organizations behind the anti-Israel riots on college campuses earlier this year, and the John Brown Gun Club, a leftist pro-gun group that frequently associates with Antifa, the anti-police movement, and other leftist causes. And Jewish Voice for Peace is not a Jewish organization. They're very far to the left, and they're basically like anti-Jewish Jews. So go with that. So perhaps most notably, the NTC hate map includes a Southern Poverty Law Center itself. That's funny. So the terrorists used the SPLC's hate map to target a conservative Christian nonprofit for an attempted mass shooting in 2012. I remember hearing about that. As the man, convicted on terrorism charges, confessed to using SPLC's map to target the Family Research Council. Amid a racial discrimination and sexual harassment scandal in 2019, a former SPLC employee said the organization's hate accusations were a highly profitable scam to bilk donors, which I'm not surprised about. It says the SPLC has faced many defamation lawsuits over its accusations, and one of those lawsuits, brought by the Dustin Inman Society, has made it to the discovery process heading towards trial. Good, expose those effers. It says the NTC hate map may be new, but it is already showing signs of beating the SPLC at its own game. Good. That this organization needs to be destroyed, the SPLC. They're nothing more than just, again, another leftist racket that just brands all violence is from the left, and they just conveniently ignore everything, from the right, and they conveniently ignore everything from the left. So there you go. So what do you guys think about this? Is it about time that there was a group out there that was actually showing where all the violence comes from, regardless of side? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.